What is up, my people? We are back. There's a lot to talk about in boxing, but for today, I'm only gonna focus on Ryan Garcia and on the Philly show because it's a subject that really interests me. I'm enamored. I guess you could say enamored. Is that a good word? By the shoulder roll and the Philly show, and because of that, I started to go into investigating, the origins of it and stuff like that. It's been a couple of years, it hasn't started now with this fight or with. It actually started with Mayweather. If we're completely honest, most of us came to know the Philly show and the shoulder roll, which is a function of the Philly show. Um, you know, through Mayweather. Mayweather popularized it recently, but he didn't invent it. And the Mayweather gym didn't invent it either, nor did his dad or anybody in his family. They didn't, and it's not from the Midwest either. So, um, and it's not from Philly either. Right, that's the other thing. Like people say that it was made in Philadelphia, and that's why they call it the Philly Shell. Before it was called the Philly Shell, it was called the Crab Shell, right? And even before that, the term shell, was a boxing term. It wasn't a term specifically to the Philly shell. But anyways, before I start going into the history of it, because I do enjoy talking about stuff like that because it's very martial arts based and stuff like that. Let's talk about that night, the fight, between Duerta and Kinray Garcia, who, by the way, people are gonna probably start calling Tutsiro Garcia. I'm not telling you guys to do that, but if you want to, that'd be kind of fun, right? That'd be kind of fun. Uh, but I'm drinking some Celsius peach vibes. Peach vibes. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know. But in this fight, Duarte was doing good in that fight. And he seemed to be hurting Ryan. Or at least giving him pause um, into attacking and into doing his thing. And I think it was because he was going to the body. And as he was going through the body, Ryan Garcia decided to do something about it, and it seemed like his regular guard, his regular high guard, wasn't working. The regular classic high guard wasn't working. Which, by the way, is also very effective if you know how to use it and if you know how to block shots with it. Um, the what he did was an improvised. Instead, what he did was an improvised Philly shell. And the reason he did that is because it protects the body well, right? It protects the body well. Not that well. So there is some weaknesses in it. If you know it, if you know how to crack the shell, you know how to do it. But this guy, Duarte, he didn't know what to expect because it just came out of nowhere. So and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch because Ryan didn't know what he was doing. But Duerta, he didn't know what he was gonna do it either. So it was like they were both confused. So I was just laughing, dude. I was like, it's like it was very comedic to me to watch somebody improvise something that he's only seen and it worked. It actually worked. And and he managed to he managed to block his body shots. And of course, um, it wasn't perfect at all. I mean, obviously, it looked ridiculous. It kind of looked like he was backing up into him, which I know what he was trying to do. All right, but he needs he's missing minute details, and that's what the Philly show is all about is the minute details, the minute footwork, um, and 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 I would like to say that it's complicated, but at the same time, all the guards are complicated. The cross guard is complicated, has its own tricks to it. The regular classic high guard has his own tricks to it too. It's just that people haven't explored it that much as I have the Philly show. But then when you start exploring the Philly show, you start to be interested in all of these other guards as well, and all of the minute details and minute guard tricks that they have. Um, and but just watching the fight happen and how it worked for him, dude. I mean, that's the whole point of martial arts. It doesn't have to be pretty. In fact, most of the most effective martial arts aren't that pretty at all. They're very harsh looking, but they work. Um, so in my opinion, it's like, should he stop doing it? In my opinion, I think he shouldn't stop doing it. I think he should continue to implement it in his training sessions, because that's the only way that he's gonna get better at it. You know what I mean? Now, of course, a lot of people are gonna say it's too late. Some people, the classic thing that people like to say is, "You're not Floyd Mayweather," which is the dumbest thing to say, bro. Like, you should never tell somebody you're not this person or you're not that person. If you see your hero do something, right? And you say, I want to be like that guy. I want to do what that guy does. Then nobody should stop you from doing it. And that's for somebody who's punching you in the face. Then, okay, maybe I'll stop now, right? But you should try it. You should try it and learn from what Mayweather said. I was looking at an interview when they asked him, "How are you so good at the shoulder roll?" Which is, like I said one more time, I'll repeat it. The shoulder roll is a defensive function of the Philly show. And he said, "I practice it in sparring against lesser opponents, and and then I practiced it so much in sparring against lesser opponents that when I got to the higher level against the Oscar De La Hoyas, against the Ricky Hattons, against those guys at the top level, I had been doing it for so long with lesser opponents that when I got to that higher level, I was still doing it just the same." Right. So that's how martial arts works, by the way. If you read the book of Five Rings, by Miyamoto Musashi. I don't know if he actually wrote it, but that's who they say wrote it. Um, it says, there's a passage in there that says, first we attack lesser opponents, and then later we will attack greater opponents, and then later on we will attack even greater opponents than that. And that's how you become more skillful with the sword. And it's the same thing when it comes to boxing. If there's a technique that you want to try, I wouldn't recommend doing it within the fight. I would recommend you start in sparring. That's when you start experimenting. That's when you start to to do all that stuff. Not in the ring like Ryan did, because that was very dangerous of him. But I mean, he had to risk it. He had to do something um, to to um, to do it. I mean, and look here, he's getting cut in the face, but he really didn't care about the face. He was worried about him, getting ripped to the body, and that's why he improvised that particular style. Um, so there's some things that he was doing right. All right, there were some things that he was doing right. But there's some things that he was doing wrong, like for example here, and just the angles in which he was um, doing it. He was always going to end up, his opponent was always going to end up behind him, and that's very dangerous, and it's like in this type of fight, it's dangerous, but you could get away with it a little bit more. Mayweather had a tendency to turn his back to his opponents also as well, and it was because of the same reason. The most famous one is against Conor McGregor, but you could make a highlight reel of Mayweather turning his back on his opponents. Um, but you know, it's just a certain weakness of certain guards is in this one. I truly do believe, especially the modern day Philly show, which is a hybrid, and it was invented by Mayweather. Um, it does tend to make your opponents end up behind you, and that's not good. Especially if you're in a street fight or if you're in an MMA fight. I mean, they'll eat you up in those type of fights. But in boxing, you know, hits to the back aren't allowed. Hits to the back of the head aren't allowed. Um, in MMA, I think you could do a hammer fist to the back of the neck and it's over. I mean, lights out. Um, so yeah. But a little bit about the Philly show, because if you go online, people are attacking Ryan, and it's cool to attack him because it's funny, and I feel like as long as it's funny, it's cool. But now they're talking about, should you continue to do it, should you not continue to do it. I personally think you should continue to do it. I personally think um, you should, I don't know, contact the Mayweathers or somebody else that knows how to use it. There's plenty of people that know how to use it because it's not, like I said, it wasn't invented in Philadelphia, and it's not a Mayweather Midwest thing either. But you know, um, but Ryan, he's like, right now I don't know where to put Ryan. I don't know if he's a pure boxer, if he's a boxer puncher. I'm thinking he's more of a boxer puncher, because he has the power and he has the speed. Pure boxers, a lot of times they don't really have that power. You know, I would say the pure boxer is the boxer that has the most, um how can I say this, the most self knowledge, right? And he knows what he can and cannot do, right? The pure boxer does. He knows his limitations, and he knows what his opponents could do and cannot do. And because of this, he develops a style that keeps him away from conflicts, right? Ryan Garcia does have power, and he knows he has power, and he knows he has speed. So this would either make him a boxer puncher, but he doesn't act like a brawler or somebody who comes forward a lot. So he's not that, right? So I'm thinking he's gonna be something like a boxer puncher. Um, but now people are saying, now this is the thing. People think that the Philly shell is, a pure boxer, a pure boxer stance, right? But here's the thing, bro. It's not, right? The person who made it famous first before Mayweather, the guy who made it famous in boxing, was George Benton, and I think this is a picture of him. I hope it is, because if not, I'm gonna get it online. But George Benton was he wasn't the inventor of it, but he was the guy who made it popular and who taught it to the most amount of people, and who he's kind of like the Johnny Appleseed of the style. Meaning he spread the seeds around the U.S. of this particular fighting style and the tricks of this fighting style and everything. And the reason they started calling it the Philly Shell, was because of him. And I believe it was either an announcer or a fighter or something like that. He was in a fight, and they just couldn't hit him. Right, and he was right there in front of him. That's by the way the trait of a Philly shell practitioner, or a crab shell practitioner, is they stand right in front of you, but you're not really catching them with anything. The opponents could be moving around, right, and moving circles around him, but if you start paying attention, you're gonna realize that all the punches that they're throwing are either slipping, or being slipped, caught, or trapped somewhere in the middle there, right? And that's how you identify these guys. The other thing is they're always moving forward. All right, so those two things already are different than what you would call a pure boxer. In fact, this particular style was invented to beat the pure boxer. It was invented to nullify the pure boxer, right? And these guys here, um, yeah, I don't want to hear that. God damn, everybody wants to talk to me right now. Who was that? Anyways, this particular style was invented to beat up pure boxers, and it was invented, you know, was there's a bunch of rumors that people don't know where it kind of came from. I personally think, most fighting styles, most good fighting styles come from, the coasts, the coastal areas, like the sailors, right? And the reason I believe that is because, like, you go to Japan. Let's start with Japan first, all right? Let's go all the way to Japan and see how karate started. And you start to realize that karate began, by the Chinese and Dutch sailors meeting with the Japanese people in the coast in the ports, and doing trading with them. And then every once in a while they're like, hey, let's fight, because I don't know if you know, but sailors, I don't know if they still do, but they like to fight. And they would fight and they would have these, um, clashes between the Japanese and the Chinese and the Dutch. And from that, you get the kicks from the Dutch, right? And you get the hand techniques from the Chinese, and you mix it up with the grappling skills of the Japanese, and you got yourself, karate, and that's how the style was invented. But you look at some of the stuff that you see in the Philly show, and it's, very similar to some of the stuff you see in some Chinese boxing styles. It's very similar that was just to some of the stuff you see in a lot of these, other martial arts. There's a lot of stuff in there that you see in other martial arts. It's very easy to do a flick jab with it or a back fist with it. Um, it's very easy to sneak in an elbow, right? So it's one of these styles that is in my opinion, it's a mixture of things, an amalgamation of things that came together to make a very um, elusive but trotting forward style. Okay, that's my opinion from where it came from, because you could even go anywhere around the world, right? And the sailors are the ones, the sailors, the people from the that are in boats are usually the ones that are making these styles. Like, for example, the Dutch, right? Um, and you see how they invented their style, and then you go down to London, where they started doing um, the bare knuckle fighting, and you start realizing, that all around the world, a lot of these, sea bearing people were making these styles, right? And the same thing goes, for that coastal region of the U.S. up along the East Coast, and that's where I believe personally that the style came from, right? But and why do I think that? Like, okay, it's just that, but at the same time, how does the style work, or what are the traits of the style? Well, number one, you move your feet very little with this style, right? With the original style, by the way, the one that George Benton used, and the one even older than that, you know, um, you move your feet very little, and believe it or not, it's a flat-footed style. A lot of people are gonna be like, "Hey, you don't keep your feet flat. Being flat-footed is bad, or whatever." This style here, very little movement. Now, where do you think people would not move their feet a lot because balance was an issue? In my opinion, that would be in a boat, right? That would be in a boat, because the boats are very flimsy. They move back and forth, and so this would be a better style, for someone like that, right? Now, now you fast forward to Mayweather, right? And how he got to it, and this is the stuff that I'm telling you is stuff that I heard, from people on YouTube, and also from people that I've heard the stories from, right? So so in the beginning, right, the shell, it just meant shell up, just meant, just use whatever guard you have to not get hit. That meant shelling up, right? And so when George Benton used it, and the announcer said, that Philly shell is hard to crack, right? I hope I mentioned that, because I keep going into these tangents, but that Philly shell is hard to crack, but it didn't mean that was the name of the style, or that was the um what it was called. Because before that I told you it was called the crab shell. So people just called it the shell, whatever. The shell in itself, it just means every boxer's um every boxer's defense, right? Just shell up, right? So so how did it get to Mayweather? Okay, fast forward to Mayweather. His father, if you notice, right, his dad uses the Philly shell, right? His dad is an expert at the Philly shell, right? You look at him, he knows how to use the Philly shell, and that's pretty much all he does is the Philly shell, right? Um that's what he does. That's his preferred way of boxing. He does nothing else but the Philly shell. Okay. And then if you look at his Uncle Roger, may he rest in peace. Um he didn't use the Philly shell. If you really observe him and you look at the way he used to fight, he didn't use the Philly shell. And he was more of a pure boxer style of guy. And and so Mayweather learned from both of those guys, and that's why Mayweather was so hard to crack, because Mayweather combined two styles together, actually like three styles together, to create his own style. And he took a little bit of the Philly shell, right? He took a little bit of a pure boxer, and he took a little bit of what you call, like a I would call it like a mummy style, or a yeah, like a I don't want to call it a Mexican style, because people aren't gonna they're gonna go crazy if I say that. But it's like Mayweather does this thing where he gets his high guard up, and then people think that because he has his high guard up that they could go down the middle, and when they go down the middle, he pulls back and he throws a left hook, right, and then he throws a right. So he knows how to draw attacks from people by using that. Um, and in his last fights, his exhibitions fights, he doesn't use anything else but that style, which is the up. He puts his hands up like this, like a regular high guard, and he just walks forward, right? Um, so I guess he figures he doesn't need to do it. But his mentality is very much of a pure boxer. Mayweather's mentality is very much the pure boxer. The Philly shell is just what he uses to rest and to trot forward, right? So okay, but the reason I'm going into this is because the reason I'm going into this whole tangent about about the Philly shell and stuff is because I do think that some people believe that the Philly shell is a style that only certain people should use, you know. And I what I'm saying is that it ain't. What I'm saying is that it came from somewhere. Somebody, a bunch of people invented it together, and styles continue to change as they go along. If you look at Mayweather, he's not a pure Philly shell practitioner, because rumor has it that, at the beginning he was being taught by only Roger, right? And Roger Mayweather, he's a pure boxer. He moves around the ring, stays on the outside, throws the jab, and tries to get that two in, um, and stuff like that. That's a pure boxer, right? So that's your classical, like, straightforward boxer. Um, and Mayweather was doing that, but he was running into a lot of these Philly show practitioners. And what did I say at the beginning there, or for a few minutes ago? I just said, what the Philly show was meant for. It was to destroy these pure boxer types, right? And so if you come in with a 1-2, I mean, the Philly show is meant to stop that guy. Just catch the one with the hand, with the backhand, the one that's closer to your face, and roll either with your elbow, with your shoulder, or just roll out of the way, out of the two, and then come back either with an uppercut to the solar plex if you're short like I am, or go all the way up to the face if you got long arms like Mayweather. You know what I mean? So the that's why when Mayweather faced somebody who was very skillful, the more skillful you are in boxing, the worse off you are against the Philly show. The worse off you are, because this style, was used and it was picked up by a lot of gym fighters, and people used to call them gym rats. That's actually where the term came from. It didn't come from regular gyms. It came from boxing gyms. Um, and it was people that just like to show off, and they love to spar and humiliate, professional boxers. And people didn't like those guys because they were unprofessional, right? And they weren't there to be a pro. They weren't there to make money. They were there to fight, and they were there to humiliate the pro boxers. And Mayweather, Jr. Mayweather Jr. This guy here, he was being, destroyed at the beginning when he was younger by these guys, and you know, Roger Mayweather came in and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna teach him this style so he knows what to expect when he sees this style." That's why Mayweather. That's why Mayweather knows what to do, because he's been doing it for so long that he knows what to expect when he sees certain styles, and he knows how to deal with them. He adapts to them appropriately. Um, and yeah. So, anyways, getting back to Ryan Garcia and him trying to use the Philly show. You know, just incorporate it little by little. Start moving slowly. It's gonna take time. Um, and the style doesn't belong to anybody, bro. That's all I gotta say about that. The style doesn't belong to anybody. A lot of people don't like. Um, I don't wanna say something that's gonna make people mad, but a lot of people don't like um people using things that, and this is not everybody. This isn't everybody. It's certain people just thought it looked stupid. I thought it looked kind of weird. Like I said, I didn't know if he wanted to fight him, um, twerk on him, or have sex with him. um, but I mean, but the thing is, bro, you should have worked on that in the gym, right? His angles are slightly off, bro. They're slightly off. I know what he's doing. I know what he's thinking. I know who he's trying to do. They're slightly off. That's it. I could literally just grab this and Photoshop it and make it to where it makes more sense. And it's funny because it was just hilarious to me watching it. Um, but listen, don't let people, because people are always gonna say that to you. People are always gonna say you're not Floyd Mayweather, right? And people are always gonna say, "Oh, you're not Ali. Don't keep your hands down." That's the basic go-to thing to say to somebody who's trying new things. But what I would say is, like, try to look at tape. Like, I study Mayweather a lot. I look at all the stuff he does. I try to figure out the number one thing people miss is the feet. That's the number one thing people miss. Where are his feet placed at the time that he's doing this particular thing? Why is he doing this particular thing at what spot? You know, um, is he walking forward when he uses it? Is he moving backwards when he's using it? What style is he using when he's moving around the ring? Is he still doing the Philly shell, or is he doing something else? When is he using the cross guard? When he doesn't use the cross guard, but when is he using the high guard? When is he using, like I said, the Philly shell? What angles is he using the Philly shell? That's what you should be focused on. And that's, in my opinion, a lot of people just look at the top and they're like, oh, look at the top, it looks so cool. He's keeping his hands down and blocking here and blocking there. What about his feet? Have you noticed his feet? What is his feet doing? You know what I mean? And now you're missing. That's where the whole thing is at. The foundations is always the feet, the foot placement, the footwork. You know what I mean? And if Ryan Garcia just looks at some tape and just spent some time looking at Mayweather, George Benton, um, guys like this, and he spends just a little bit of time looking at the feet and also looking at what Mayweather's doing with his eyes. What is he looking for? Like, look at him here. He's looking at the chest area. You know what I mean? And he's trying to look at the feet where he's going. A lot of the times he's trotting forward when he's using this style. So I'm not gonna waste too much time, and it's about 30 minutes here. So that's gonna be it for today, guys. Um, uh, yeah. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know what you guys thought about this video. I'll catch you guys later.